Thank you, Madam President. Distinguished ministers, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, we thank the Secretary General for his assessment of the situation in the Middle East with a focus on the unprecedented level of confrontation on the occupied Palestinian territory and on the Lebanon-Israeli border area. This is a conflict which is also having consequences in other parts of the region, with fallout being felt in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Oman. The vast area of the entire Middle East and North Africa continue to have hotbeds of instability persisting. The spiraling violence has gone far beyond the area of the Arab-Israeli confrontation, destabilizing the situation not just in the above-mentioned regions, but also in the Mediterranean Sea, the Persian Gulf, and in North Africa as a whole. The root cause of these crises has been and remains the fact that the Palestinian issue remains unresolved. At the epicenter of the current confrontation, there is the Gaza Strip, where what began in October 2023, I refer to the latest wave of military operations. This has become the most brutal and lengthiest in the entire succession of Arab-Israeli wars. The number of the dead has surpassed 41,000. The number of the wounded and missing persons is nearing 100,000. The majority of victims are civilians in the Strip, including many women, children, and the elderly. Amid the military operations and Israel's establishment of a blockade of the Strip, the situation is expeditiously deteriorating. This Strip has become the largest open-air prison from which people simply cannot flee. According to the president of the ICRC, Madam Spolarich, the Israeli military operation underwent a full paradigm shift towards, I quote, dehumanization and the stripping of civilians of human dignity. I would like everybody to recall our steadfast position, which remains unchanged. There is no justification for the terrorist attack on 7 October. However, collective punishment against all Palestinians is unacceptable. I recalled the figures of the dead civilians, 41,000 in 1 year after the 7th of October. This is double, more than double, the number of civilians killed on both sides of the conflict in Ukraine in 10 years after the brutal coup which took place in February 2014. In 1 year, 2 times more Palestinians were killed than in 10 years of civilian casualties on both sides in Ukraine. Despite the fact that both the Security Council and the General Assembly adopted a number of resolutions with call for a ceasefire and the establishment of sustained humanitarian access to Gaza, the Israeli army operation is ongoing. 10 days ago, the General Assembly adopted a resolution in support of the advisory opinion of the ICJ, which explicitly refers to the illegal nature of the Israeli occupation of Palestinian lands and the need to bring this to an end. The overwhelming majority of the Council's membership supported this initiative to achieve a just and lasting resolution to the Palestinian-Israeli conflict and for the exercise of the rights of the Palestinian people to establish their own independent state within the 1967 borders with East Jerusalem as its capital. In this regard, we have categorical resolutions of the United Nations and our common objective of enforcement thereof. The fact that the Palestinian-Israeli conflict remains unresolved is destabilizing, as I've already mentioned, is destabilizing the entire region. The unprecedented brutality and devastation of the consequences in Gaza has triggered a sharp escalation in the Lebanon-Israeli confrontation, and the images of the ongoing strikes along the blue line and within Lebanon and Israel have circulated around the world. The Middle East is at the precipice of a full-blown war, which, as it seems, some keenly wish to see transpire. On the 23rd of September alone, as a result of large-scale Israeli bombardment of Lebanon, at least 558 people died. This includes 50 children, 94 women. More than 1,600 people were wounded. According to the UNICEF mission in Lebanon, the UNICEF representative in Lebanon, in one day in Lebanon, more people were killed than in the past 11 months. The dead include 2 staff members of the Office of the High Commissioner for Refugees. Tens of thousands of people have been forced to flee their homes. We strongly condemn the actions of the Israeli side, which blatantly violates the sovereignty of the friendly country of Lebanon. The indiscriminate attacks whose casualties are civilians are categorically unacceptable. The path of war that was embraced by West Jerusalem will not allow it to return the displaced persons to the north of the country, nor will it ensure security in the Lebanon-Israeli border area. And this is attested to by the experience of the 2006 Israeli campaign, when even the vast arsenal of the most cutting-edge military equipment and weaponry did not result in Israel achieving the goals it set out. There's a need to immediately end the spiraling violence before the situation completely spirals out of control, which, as we see, some very much wish to see transpire to provoke a full-blown war. We call for an immediate cessation of hostilities, which will result in an end to further bloodshed and will create conditions for a diplomatic and political resolution. As I understand, just today, an order was issued to bomb Beirut. We consistently and steadfastly emphasize the need for the full comprehensive implementation of Security Council Resolution 1701. This resolution stipulates both Israel's obligations to end all offensive military operations, withdraw its troops from South Lebanon, and end the occupation of Lebanese lands. And it also stipulates the obligation of Hezbollah to withdraw all of its formations to the north of the Litani River. For our part, we are undertaking robust diplomatic efforts to de-escalate the situation to prevent the most catastrophic scenario. We stand ready to cooperate with international and regional partners to that end. We believe that the security of any state must not be ensured at the expense of the security of others. We fully support UNIFIL, which plays a stabilizing role on the Blue Line. It is precisely the presence of peacekeepers that had for a long time reduced the risk of an outbreak of full-blown military confrontation. There's a need to scrupulously ensure the safety and security of blue helmets. Madam President, the Security Council is not merely a platform for exchanging views on the most pressing global issues. This is also the main body for the maintenance of international peace and security, a body that has a myriad of time-tested instruments to enforce its resolutions. The membership of the Security Council needs to place the interests of the peoples of Palestine and Israel above the short-sighted political calculations of certain actors, and to demand an immediate ceasefire, the release of all illegally detained persons, and the full-fledged ensuring of humanitarian access to those in need. The violators of Security Council resolutions need to be strictly held accountable, without which our resolutions will remain dead letter. I wish to turn to the representative of the United States. The choice is yours. Either you continue to block the work of the Security Council, or you stand on the side of the world, on the side of the international community, and demand an end to the war. Without your comprehensive support for Israel, the conflict could end quickly and effectively. This would help to establish conditions for a return to peace talks on the establishment of an independent, sovereign Palestinian state, coexisting in peace and security with Israel. Negotiations, of course, need to be carried out under the aegis of the international community without monopolization by any side. We have seen all of this. This all results in catastrophe. Thank you for your attention.